What's up, y'all? BK here with Cliff Pickleball, back for some more pickleball content. Today I wanted to talk to you about what is arguably the most important shot that will take your game from 3-5 to 4-5. This shot right here is something that's so fundamental to the game of pickleball, and it's really important that you master not only the mechanics of this shot, but also the strategy that goes behind it. So let's do it. So the shot that we're going to focus on today is the third shot. The third shot in pickleball is the shot after the serve and the return. The serve is our shot 1, the return is our shot 2, and the third shot is what we're going to focus on today. It's really important to know how to properly hit the third shot, not just with your variations and drops and dinks and the mechanic, but also to understand where to place the ball and the strategy that goes behind the third shot. The third shot is so important because the shot 1 and shot 2, the serve and the return, must bounce, and the third shot is that first shot that you're going to be able to control the ball and dictate where your opponent goes with that next shot. So let's see what the strategies are behind the third shot. So when it comes to the third shot, you basically have two major options. You can either choose to drop the ball or drive the ball. A drop is where I try to simply lift the ball over the net and try to put it in the kitchen so that my opponent cannot just simply take it out of the air and attack it. Whereas a drive is where I hit a really powerful shot, which can cause some problems for people if they're too close to the net with blocking the ball and trying to control the ball with so much power. These two variations are really important to learn, so let's go over the mechanics really quickly. Now when it comes to the drop, what you want to do is soften the ball and put it into the kitchen. So from back here, the most important thing to do is to try to get some height on the ball. The height on the ball is what's going to be able to lift that ball over the kitchen or over the net and bring it back down into the kitchen. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like we're hitting a dink, but with some more height and power. We're going to set our feet. Early preparation is the key to any shot. As soon as we see that return coming, we're going to set our feet. We're going to choose whether we're going to hit a forehand or a backhand. And once we're ready, we're simply going to open that paddle face to about 45 degrees and roll that ball, lift it over the net. Control that ball, don't put too much power into it, and really just try to roll that ball into the kitchen. What we're going to do is we're going to try to hinge our shoulders and really use our shoulder to contact that ball in front of our body. The second option is the drive. The drive is where you're going to hit a really powerful shot, and if your opponents are at the kitchen line, it's going to be a lot harder for them to deal with if it's low and powerful. So to hit the drive, what you want to do is to look for a ball that comes in high. If you see a ball with a high return and a high bounce, that's a great opportunity for you to use some power and drive that ball. The mechanics of the drive are again fairly simple, but the difference between the drop and the drive is right now we're trying to hit the ball with power and lessen our height over the net. So to hit the drive, again, early preparation is key. We're going to set our feet, choose an open stance or a closed stance. Once we decide that we're hitting a forehand, we're simply going to get into our stance, close our paddle face just a little bit, and we're going to get the ball from low to high to get that topspin. Now when it comes to the strategy of the third shot, it's really important to pick where you're going to hit the ball and which of these variations you're going to use. So the first thing you're going to do is watch for the return. If you see a nice high return or a short return, that's a great opportunity to choose the drive. Hitting the drive from mid-court or hitting a drive on a high lofty return is really easy to utilize your power to hit that ball downward into your opponent with some power, forcing them to pop that ball up. So once we decide that we see a short return or a high return, and I decide that I'm going to hit my drive, again, I'm going to use my early preparation to get some power into the ball with topspin. The next thing I want to do is figure out where on the court I want to hit that ball. Most of the time, my best option is to hit the person that's hitting the return. When I'm serving, my returning team has one person at the net and one person at the baseline. The person at the baseline is the one returning the ball, and the person at the net has their feet set, they're ready for the ball, and they're waiting for that third shot. Going to that person is usually a bad option unless you can catch them off guard. So most of the time, I'm going to try and hit the person that's hitting the return. So right here, I'm going to pretend like my opponent's hitting me a bad return, and while he's trying to get into the kitchen, as you see, he's running in front because he has to get from the baseline to the kitchen line, and that gives me the opportunity to use the power to try and hit his feet and catch him off balance. If I try to hit the person that's already at the net, they're settled in and waiting, so that's a bad option for me because they can simply counter that ball and catch my partner off guard. The next thing I want to do is to figure out where I'm going to hit that ball when my opponent's coming up. If I see that my opponent has their feet set, then I cannot simply hit their body. I have to try and get them uncomfortable with that drive. So if I'm hitting the drive at the person that's already at the net, then what I'm trying to do is get them to pop the ball up. And the way to do that is to give you some topspin and make them stretch for the ball. Anything at their chest or anything by their body is something that they can easily counter, whereas if I get them moving, now they have to try and control the ball that's coming with some topspin and pace, and it's a lot harder to do. Now, the second option for your third shot is the drop. Now, when you're hitting the drop, most people at the 3-5 level simply drop it right into the middle of the kitchen with no aim whatsoever. They simply drop that ball right into this middle spot, which gives my opponent a simply easy ball that they can control and figure out what to do with. However, when I'm dropping the ball from the baseline, I really want to take control of the game. My goal for my drop is to, 1, give me enough time to get to the kitchen line, and 2, make my opponent make a mistake. I really want to try and force my opponent to hit a bad shot. Even if it's a simple drop, I really want to force them into doing something that they're uncomfortable with. So as you can see, this kitchen is a really big space. I can use this entire space to make my opponent uncomfortable. Simply hitting the ball right in front of them is an easy shot that they're going to get away. However, if I can hit that ball with some topspin into the corners or into the middle, now I'm making them make a decision. If I hit that middle spot, is the person at the net going to take it, or is the person that's returning the ball and rushing to the net, are they going to take the ball? They have to communicate that out, and that is something that can cause an error. So once again, I'm going to utilize all these different things to really figure out how I can best utilize my drop to force my opponent into making a mistake. Now, as I said, my variations for the drop are expanse. I can hit that ball into the corner, I can hit their feet, I can hit the middle, and I have so many different options. The way you're going to choose which one to hit is by analyzing what your opponents are doing coming off of that return. If my opponent has a really good deep return and they're already at the kitchen line by the time I hit that drop, now I have 2 people that are simply waiting for me at the kitchen line. So now I have to really think about where I hit this drop so that they don't have an easy shot. What I like to do when both my opponents are already at the kitchen line when I'm hitting that drop is really utilize this middle. Since both of them are already at the kitchen line, I'm going to try to give them the decision of figuring out who's going to hit that shot. If I can put that ball exactly between my 2 opponents, now one of them has to pick who's hitting the ball, and that can cause some miscommunication. I can utilize that miscommunication to my advantage, because if both opponents go for the ball, now they're both leaving their sides of the court open, so when that ball comes back to me, I have a lot of options to simply volley that ball across on either side. However, if my opponent hits a bad return and now they're on the move trying to run up, that's my opportunity to hit an angled drop. What I'm going to do is, once my opponent hits a bad return and I see that they're running up, what usually happens is while that person is running up and I'm ready to hit my third shot, their partner at the net has a decision to make. Are they going to step in and cover for their partner who's still making their way up, or are they going to stay where they are? If I see that their partner who's at the kitchen line is moving over to cover for their partner that's simply running up, then I'm going to go into their back pocket. If I go into their back corner, now they're off balance and they're forced into hitting a shot out of position, and that's going to cause them to pop that ball up. However, if I see that my opponent is running up after the return and his partner is doing nothing to cover him, then I'm going to try to hit their corner, because when I do so, since they're already running, it's going to be very hard for them to stop their momentum and hit a controlled shot. So by angling that ball outward into their back corner pocket, now I'm trying to get them to hit a ball on the run, and that's a very low percentage shot, which again puts me in control of the point. Thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed that and took away something about drops and drives and how to really master the third shot so you can really take your game to the next level. Once again, I've been BK with Cliff Pickleball. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and YouTube at BK_Pickleball, and also subscribe to Cliff Pickleball below. I'll see you next time.